Well, sorry about that everybody, the video clicked out on me again. It does tend to happen, unfortunately. I need some new equipment. And though I hate asking, I like to give away the book free, as you know. You can support me by actually buying the book. And by telling other people that about the book. So that I can buy some new equipment. Some better equipment. I also put t-shirts and promotional items up on Facebook occasionally, and you can help me by buying those. And if you actually want to donate to get Jack some new equipment, my PayPal is jack@jackcoxauthor.co.uk. So anyway, only if you feel that you want to. I mean, I'm not pressurising anybody. If it sits right with you to help, then help, please. I'd be very grateful. If it doesn't sit right with you, that's fine too. So anyway, where was I on here? The 10 Pillars. I was on Truth, wasn't I? Yeah, Pillar 6, Truth. They say we're living in a post-truth era. Even when I wrote Rupert Murdoch's Hitmen back in 2015, I think it was, or 14. We were talking then about it being, oh, I know what it was. It was just after the last US election, wasn't it? Not the current one, the last one. And we were saying how Trump's team and Hillary Clinton's team were both spreading misinformation. She probably more than he, but they were both doing it. And who was that twerp? Who was that twerp in the Labour Party? Oh, he used to be Mayor of London. What was his name? Livingston, Ken Livingston, Red Ken. He just said something that was probably wrong about Hitler and the Jews, and he said that Hitler went mad and started killing the Jews, but before that he was trying to help them, and I don't know whether that's true or whether it's not true. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't alive then. Believe it or not, there was a time I wasn't alive. But he got chucked out of the Labour Party for that, and it wasn't chucked out because he said something that was wrong. That was the point I was making. It wasn't because what he said was wrong. It was because what he said had offended people. And that ties in with tolerance that I mentioned in a previous pillar. Yeah, we must have truth. We vote in politicians that tell us comforting lies. And we vote out the politicians that tell us the truth. So can we really blame them for lying to us? The only way to stop politicians lying to us is to have a zero tolerance policy. One lie and you're out. And that's all there is to it. And they'd all be out. And all the parties would be out. And the Houses of Parliament would be empty if we did that right now. We'd have to get some completely new faces in there and hopefully change our whole system from a top-down system to a bottom-up system, a grassroots system. And that, but it's not, I'll get on to that in a minute in the next pillar. Oh, I think it's the next one, I'm not sure. But it's not just lying, it's not just politicians lying to us, it's not just the media lying to us. We lie to each other. We lie to each other all the time. We tell each other little white lies, as we call them. Just tell the truth. Anyway, if we don't tell the truth, how can we navigate through life? If we don't know the truth of all things, how can we navigate a path through life? We can't, can we? It's crazy. To stop trying to spare other people's feelings, or trying to stop sparing your own feelings. If you've done something wrong, fess up. If you haven't done something wrong, stand your ground. And just stop lying. Right, Pillar 7 is absolute freedom of religious belief and religious practices, so long as they don't violate the other pillars. Now, why do I say that? Why don't I just say freedom of religion? Well, when I wrote the book, I was talking about you can't have human sacrifice, okay? That goes against the other pillars. You're not being excellent to somebody if you stick them on an altar and stab them with a knife. And there may be a few Satanist groups that do that kind of thing. And I think with the Bohemian Grove and all that lot, and Pizzagate, we're starting to realise that there's an awful lot more of it than I thought when I wrote the book back in 2018. But there's other aspects to this too. Violating somebody else's freedom of religion. The whole concept of apostateism. To persecute somebody for changing their religion. And then saying, we're allowed to do that, it's part of our religion. Don't work, does it? No, it don't work. You're either going to be tolerant to other people or you're not. And if you're not, then we can't have utopia. We can't have our brand new Aquarian age system. Any freedom that you want, you have to be willing to give to others also. Right. So the next pillar is fair, people-centric, bottom-up, not top-down, democratic government where no individual has authority over anyone else. Top-down systems cannot survive. I mentioned this, look at the last video I made, or the penultimate video I made. It was about a one world government in the age of Aquarius. Why I'm against one world government. Why I'm against totalitarianism and authoritarianism. But how an Aquarian age government wouldn't be like that, because it wouldn't be a top-down government, it would be a bottom-up government. Then it wouldn't matter, we wouldn't need all the national governments then. And as we evolve into what people are calling fifth dimensional consciousness, and none of this is in the book, by the way, because I didn't know about fifth dimensional consciousness then. You don't need laws that tell you not to do this and not to do that, not to kill people, not to rape people, not to steal from people, because it would never enter your mind to do such a thing. And when we can evolve to that level of consciousness, and it might happen in a few years, it might happen in 150 years, but it will happen, then we can have we won't need rules anymore. Government won't be government in the sense that government is government now. It just won't be. It'll be a different thing. Hopefully, we might even find a new word for it. Because it certainly won't be government in the sense that we're governed at the moment. It'll be an anarchistic government. And in the present world view, that seems like an oxymoron, a contradiction in terms. But as we evolve into fifth dimensional consciousness, we realise it isn't an oxymoron, and an anarchistic government is actually possible. And if you don't understand that yet, that's fine. You might have to wait another 100 years before people start to understand that. That's fine. And the last pillar, pillar 10, is probably the most controversial at this time because it's maintain a stable population. Now, I'm an environmentalist at heart, and I understand that all the environmental problems that we have would be less if there were fewer people doing it. Simple arithmetic. There'd be less plastic in the oceans if there were fewer people around to throw plastic in the oceans. Yeah, we can also do it another way by educating people that are around not to throw plastic in the oceans. And that would be a good thing to do. If there were fewer trees being cut down, if there were fewer people cutting them down, then we can do that without controlling the population by just educating people why it's important to plant trees and not grow trees and not cut down trees. But if that fails, the ultimate way to stop it all is to have fewer people doing it. And there are things that we just can't help doing as part of just living on a planet. There were fewer people doing it, we live in a better world. Now, I'm not saying that I support Bill Gates and whatever he may or may not be doing with his jab. And he's invested a lot of money in all these companies that are producing the jabs. But just because there's a handful of despots that want to kill us all off doesn't mean that we're not overpopulated. And it's a difficult one for most of you to grasp because most of the people on what I consider my side, our side, we've been taught to disagree with everything that comes from the other side, and the other side want depopulation. But actually we do have to depopulate. I mean, I've been saying this what am I now? I'm 68. I've been saying this for 40 years. 50 years. 40, between 40 and 50 years. And back then I was saying, well, the population was a lot lower then, that we can have a carrot or a stick. We can do it voluntarily. We can just stop breeding so much. And the first thing we can do is just to stop paying people to have kids. Child benefit. Welfare benefits paid to people to have kids. It's crazy in an overpopulated planet to have child benefit. Stop paying people to have kids. And stop giving free fertility treatment on the NHS. Infertility isn't a disease. It's just a natural thing. It's the way the population controls itself. One of the ways. So we do need to get the population down, and we need to get it down a lot. And because we didn't do the things I've been saying for half a century, we're now in a position where it's become a lot more critical. You can't keep growing exponentially. I'm sorry, you just can't keep growing exponentially. Where are you going to put everybody? Okay, one day maybe we can have colonies on the moon and colonies on Mars. If anybody would really want to live that way, I wouldn't. I like this planet the way it is, and I want to be here. It's a beautiful planet. It's the most beautiful planet in the solar system. We don't have to kill anybody off. We just have to cut down the number of replacements that we have. We need to start thinking about children as replacements, not additions. Okay? Simple. It's really not that controversial. So that's it for today. Some of it got split into two. If we take on board these 10 principles, we don't need government to do these things. We don't need to convince anybody in power, as they say. Power. Anybody who wants to be in power should be automatically banned from entering government. Automatically banned from standing for election. Should be called in service, not in power. But we don't need to convince anybody in service. And local authorities should be called local services. Authorities indeed, bloody pig-headed gits. Anyway, I'm getting off the subject. We don't need to convince any of them to do these things. We just need to start treating each other differently. Okay, to move to even to move from a top-down to a bottom-up system of government. No government is going to do that easily. It's us at the grassroots that have to make them. And all this lockdown bollocks that's going on at the moment, excuse my French, they're not going to give it up. People treat us the way we train them to treat us. And we train them by what we permit to continue. So treat people better and we can live in paradise. Continue to treat people like shit. Continue to live in this big fish eat little fish world. And we're going to continue to have hell on earth. It's our choice. Let's choose wisely. Namaste.